And we'll move to the next speakers, resource speakers. We have we have JC. So he's a co-founder of Enon IT Solutions, so the creator of NASA Space App Challenge 2018, winning solutions of is that the first community for the fishing community in the Philippines. And he's also the consultant for developing an online platform for sustainable and responsible fishing, a product development expert as well, an agile evangelist, and a digital transformations lead. So without further ado, please help me welcome JC. JC, whenever you're ready, the platform is yours.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you once again, Hackathon, for inviting me. So it was a great event last year. So I'm glad that we'll be able to share our story for the second year, I guess, of the Hackathon 2.0. So let me just share my screen first. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so good afternoon once again. I'll be telling a story about how data was able to empower innovation. So specifically, those project or one of the projects that I've been with for the past 2 years at least. So once again, I'm JC Torreda. I'm from the Philippines. I'm one of the co-founder of ISDAP, one of the winning solutions from NASA Space Apps Challenge way back 2018. I've been in the IT industry working for corporate companies for the past 13 years, but for almost 2 years now, I'm a consultant for IT and digital transformation while doing our startup. I'm helping USAID build as well an online platform for FishRight. Guess one of the most important thing here that I would like to emphasize is that more than this description about me is I'm a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that's keeping the child in me, of course. So just to start our story for this afternoon, so I would just like to share. Currently, we're already at the the fifth industrial revolution, and I would like to emphasize that why the fifth industrial revolution is very much important. We've always say that currently most of us view data as one of is the new oil or one of the most important thing in this world right now, and I wanna define that and discuss on that before we go with our story about our startup. So if you can notice, in the several industrial revolutions up to the fourth industrial revolution, the focus really is more on the technological advancement, on how human were able to create technology, such as in the fourth industrial revolution, we focus on AI, big data, robotics, IoT, crypto, and the most controversial one is the blockchain, of course. But I would like to emphasize what's the role of data in the fifth industrial revolution. Because if you can see, the fifth industrial revolution, does it focus really on how we will create or create advancement in terms of technology? It actually wants to build a connection of innovation to purpose and inclusivity. So what does this mean? But before I go to the inclusivity and creating purpose, personally, I believe that data is the bloodline of any technology. That's how we can actually build connection of innovation to purpose and inclusivity. It is data that humanizes technology by creating information. We can actually create insights and imperatives because of data. And hence we can create inclusive innovation. So I want to define also what inclusive innovation means, because later on, that's where our discussion will focus on. In simple terms, it's actually the means by which new goods and services are developed, and for and or by those who have been excluded from the development mainstream. Mainly, inclusive innovation focuses on helping those less privileged or less fortunate. And we can actually make use of data in creating inclusive innovation through data democratization. So what data democratization means? So there are three things that I wanted to emphasize when we talk about data democratization. Don't get me wrong. I know that there are pros and cons of data democratization, but when we talk about data democratization in the context of inclusive innovation, I'm all in, at least for inclusive innovation. So we define data democratization as providing access to data for those who don't have access. And also, aside from providing them access, provide them an easy way for people, provide them an easy way to understand the data. What does it mean for them? And allow people also to make decision with no barriers. The barriers with access and barriers of understanding what does it really means to them. And before I introduce you with the solution that we're working on, where we use data democratization, I want to touch on where do you actually get data, because there's a lot of different data sources. So there's the space data, the weather data, of course. There's the internet or the crowdsourcing. There's lots of data, but we just need to be careful as well on where do we get our data, because though we are in the middle of the pandemic, there are also the existence of infodemic. So that means there's lots of sources of data, and we need to identify which data are true, which data sources we should use or not. And for the solutions that we are creating, make sure that if the data is not open, of course, this data that I've mentioned, especially space data, there are more sources that are open. So one example of this is the one that we've used during the NASA Space Apps Challenge way back 2018, which until now it is still an open data, is the NASA space data. Of course, Japan, Canada space data are also open right now with 2019 or 2020 NASA Space Apps Challenge. Or those are some of the sources of data that we can consider in developing our solution. And these data are very, very rich. You'll be surprised as to how this can actually help you with creating solutions actually for your startups or the company that you're working on right now. So I want to introduce you with a solution that we are working on for at least for the past 2 years. Just like Kate, I'm also into the product development space, being me in the IT industry. So we sort of think of a solution wherein using data democratization, we wanted to give access to information to less privilege. Of course, these are the target users of this are the small scale fishing communities or fishing communities here in the Philippines. And we designed an app to actually communicate and improve the ordinary fishermen's understanding of the sea and the weather, and connect them to this information. But considering as well that not all of them has smartphones and internet connection. So in the next slide, I'll show you how does it work, given that most apps are actually uses smartphones to be able to communicate with their different users. So our idea is our app name is called ISDAP. So combining the two words ISDAP means fish in Filipino, and the word app. So that's why we coined the term ISDAP, or the name of our app ISDAP. So it is the first community app in the Philippines where we wanted to empower small-scale fishermen, of course, with data and information that are useful for fishing and safety through their analog phones. So this is how it actually works. So for most apps, normally we download applications for the users to use it. But with ISDAP, we just need one smartphones, for example, per community, and then that community lead needs to download the app. And upon downloading the app, it then collects weather data based on the community's location. And that app handled by one of, for example, it will be handled right now. Most of the app are installed in the community leads smartphones. And by doing that, they can actually, the members of the fishing community can actually register to the app itself via SMS. And then using the collected data specifically for that community, the SDAP will able to send advisory via SMS to the registered fisher folks or fishermen. So that's how we actually communicate with our target users. So there's one app for every community, and then the rest will just subscribe to that particular community service. So the app is on a per community basis. So that's how we and right now, just to share the status of our of ISDAP is with we know that we're in the middle of the pandemic, but we've actually launched ISDAP here in the Philippines, specifically here in the zone with I think around 3 or 4 communities already with around if I'm not mistaken 300 members. With the help, of course, of the different government agencies and private company that helped us to pilot the app. And though slowly, we're able to pilot it, and we've interviewed actually some fishermen via Zoom. But I'm hoping that when the situation got get better, we should be able to go to the community itself and have the conversation with the members of those different communities who already use the app. But right now, the different LG or local government units are helping us. So with that, I wanted to emphasize that using data, we can actually create value out of technology. So that's one thing that I would like to emphasize as well, that with this app, we're not creating a groundbreaking technology, actually using technology to create something of value. And using by creating inclusive innovation powered by data as well. So we've considered the users of or how the application can actually help the small scale fishing communities here in the Philippines by actually providing them information through the use of the weather data and translating it into a useful information that will essentially help them at most. And we wanted to balance it with, though the pilot focuses on how we can actually give advisory to the fishermen, but we wanted to balance it that in our later roadmap, we also wanted to send them information on how they can actually help on the conservation of our marine ecosystem, specifically on their communities. And with that, I would like to end my talk with our, of course, with presenting with you with our app staff. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, JC, for this sharing on the ISDAP. We have some questions from the audience, from the participants, and I think we'll straight away answer these questions.
Sure.
So we have questions from Kevin. He asked, what kind of data can the app gather on or from the community?
Specifically, those are weather data. I'm not sure with because here in the Philippines, mostly for those remote areas or fishing communities, they're able to get weather information based on TV news or from the radio, but those are not really localized. So what we did was to get localized weather data and translate it into useful information so that we can actually provide weather advisories to the fisher folks.
Yeah, and then we have also questions from Rafid. But before we go to Rafid, maybe Edra Beta Masran would like to ask questions because he's raising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
Proceed.
for the opportunity. Thank you, Jesse. It's great presenter. I have a question about of how to build supply chains data from in fisheries base from community to market in the fisheries business. What is your recommended or suggestion to build this?
Sorry, I was not able to catch. Maybe there's just some connectivity.
Yeah. To build database of supply chains from community, fisherman, middleman to market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is your recommended for that?
So he was asking about what do you recommend in terms of apps or data processing when it comes to collecting data on supply chains from the fishermen and things.
Chain. Yeah. So actually, the fact that building, you should actually start by building a relationship with these fishing communities, and I must say it's not that easy, because compared to traditionally when we create applications, most of our users are already tech savvy and everything, but connecting with these fishing communities would actually entail you, or would actually require you to connect with them through different organizations first. I guess that's the first thing that you need to know, because not all of them will actually will directly engage with you, though your intentions are good. If you're trying to help them, but you need to find an organization, maybe it's a non-government organization that has already an existing relationship with the communities. And with that, I guess with the supply chain, it is an existing concern right now, especially with COVID. There's lots of fishing communities that were not able to sell their products. So there are already some initiatives actually that help them sell those seafood products online. So there are Facebook pages created, but you can check with I guess in building solutions, you can check first if there are already existing solutions in the market. I know there are. We are building something with our project in Fish, right? So you can check that first, and maybe leverage on creating something unique, not just basing it from the existing solution. So because we don't, as much as possible, of course, even if we wanted to create solutions such as this, we're trying to create unique values also that can help our communities. I hope that I was able to answer.
Yes. Thank you. It's good.
Thank you so much, Indra. Now we have Kevin. Kevin, you want to ask questions? You raise your hand.
Sure. Yes. Hi, JC. I'm also from the Philippines. And,
hi.
So the app that you mentioned is very helpful to us, because we're also collecting data on the community, the fishers. But we would like to understand more about the weather data that you're collecting using the app. So maybe did you attach any device on the mobile phone to collect such data, or is it coming from the internet as well?
Initially, we have a source from via API, and right now we have a local source here in the Philippines actually to get those localized weather data, because to be honest, it is very expensive to actually set up a weather device in every community. Those are very, very expensive. So we found some ways to get weather information with our government partners, so that we can just collect them via the internet. So it's over the cloud using APIs. I know you're familiar with it. So that's how we are getting our data as of the moment.
So it's based on the location of the user phone, of the mobile phone, and then
the geographic location, the long lat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
We have another questions from Tindagat. This is maybe because they are prototyping product similar to targeting the fishing community as well. So for those fishers who already are out in the seas, can they still receive the SMS broadcast?
Yeah, that is actually one of the questions during our pitch in the NASA Space Apps way back 2018. And we know that there are our telco signals has limitation, I guess, specifically in the remote areas in the Philippines. We're actually exploring ways on how they can actually receive SMS notifications even they're out at the sea, because right now there are limitations in terms of signals. So that's one of the caveats that we're telling the communities when we are engaging them in using the platform.
And then we have another question from Rafid. So he's asking what operating systems that this app has. Is it Android or iOS?
Yeah, so right now it's in Android because it's the easiest way to upload your app in the Android store. It will take some time for iOS, and we've also checked that most of our users are actually using Android, so we go first for Android. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think that's pretty much the questions. I just want to, because in the previous sessions we talked about data validations or product validations with users. Does this also happens when you do the product developments? Like, do you validate and evaluate the product with the users, or how do you receive feedbacks on the use of that ISDAP?
Yeah. So we're supposed to go to these communities where we piloted the app, but unfortunately we're not able to go. So, but with the help of the local government units and the Bureau of Fisheries local governing bodies in those communities, we're able to talk to some of these fisher folks via Zoom. So they went to the municipal offices of these communities and they communicate with us via Zoom, and they were very, very helpful and very, very eager actually in providing us feedback. So with the things that they need, like for example, they're requesting if we can provide the impact of wind in terms of the waves at sea or the tides, sort of the things like that.
All right. Thank you so much, JC, for your sharing. We have a lot of questions, and I guess that triggers some of interest from the some of the groups that were asking questions. Thank you so much. We'll go to the next section.